we're back with the show. It's Gerald Glassford. Come right back at you here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Thanks so much for watching and listening. I do want to give an update. I had a recent interview with Don Fobbs, our awesome individual that covers the latest and greatest going on in the world of television. After our interview, of course, the Friday news dump gave us something, and that SWAT on CBS has been canceled after 6 seasons. We think because the reason why, even though this season, the series has garnered a double-digit percentage ratings by its move to Friday nights on CBS. CBS and Sony could not come to an agreement on future ownership and also costs of the show. So I guess that means for now, SWAT is on the way out, but there's a strong campaign growing on social media for return to SWAT on another format, another channel, maybe in streaming. So don't count out yet, SWAT fans. If you think that SWAT is going to survive, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But the main thing this weekend going on is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It is now in theaters. It has earned almost $300 million worldwide and around $115 million at the box office. So I just want to go ahead and say, you know what? It is just kind of doing okay. It is just only a little bit above what Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumanium earned in February. It is the May Marvel release, so it's not earning the huge dollars that Disney has come to expect in the first week of May for a Marvel movie, but it is still doing, I guess, okay out of the bat. The true test for a man of true knowledge, who will join me here in a sec, is will this movie, with all the other movies lined up over the course of this month and in future weeks, will it have the legs to go ahead and continue? Because the problem was with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, not with its first week, but what happened soon after it ended up becoming a financial box office failure because it could not sustain any momentum from bad press, bad publicity, bad word of mouth. This movie is getting pretty good word of mouth. It has an A cinema score so far, so we'll see what happens there. But a man to talk about his time watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check him out today as the man of true knowledge. Of course, at the MCU's Bleeding Edge, it is Jeff Sloboda. And Jeff, great to have you back, my friend. You wanted to talk GOTG3, so let's talk GOTG3, my friend.
All I can say is it's the first MCU film I've ever experienced in my life where I actually took the time to reach out to probably like 35 or 40 different like friends or creators and whatnot and everything, right? And like I just let them know straight up, like I tested them all, right? Or Facebook message with them and let them know, like, hey, you can go see the film, and like you don't have to be like worried, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, like you don't have to be pessimistic or whatever, right? Just like go have a good time, right? You know what I mean? Like because I'm true knowledge, baby. I'm just kidding. Because everyone knows that like I talk the straight dope. I'm biased, just like everybody, whatnot, with certain things, of course, like and these characters have been with us for a long time, and they're part of what we have left after we lost like basically almost original six. So of course there's that connection with that and whatnot and everything. The years you spend with them, but overall, I think that it's interesting because several of them actually did respond and say to me like, "Thank you for let me know that," and everything. I was a little bit like on the fence about like how I was going to feel going into it. Like I was going to go, but I was like worried a little bit about what was going to happen. But knowing that you let me know that, I'm just going to go and expect to enjoy, have a good time. So.
No worries, my friend. That's a good thing to hear because the fact that, again, the word of mouth is so important, as the bad word of mouth basically was the undoing of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania after it got off to the franchise IP Ant-Man best start. Unfortunately, ended up with the worst of all the three movies. So you went from the best opening to the worst overall performance. And that's got to be strictly because of the bad word of mouth, because the movies that were running alongside of it in February and March were not strong enough to the point where it should have mattered. The only thing that mattered was it's the bad word of mouth. And to my, that's something that's been a great concern to me, my friend. And that is this is a pivotal point. This is a pivotal point in the time frame of the MCU. The MCU is at a crossroads. You really, for the ongoing future, are people going to stay invested and interested in it? And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has to be a success, I think, in order for it to continue.
Yeah, I mean, we might disagree on like maybe that being a barometer or whatever, whatnot, or like that being a stopgap spot where like like it's really that like
Well, the
pivotal.
the May Marvel movie is supposed to be the biggest grossing Marvel movie of the year.
I think that my biggest concern really is the Marvels. To be honest with you, if that's another conversation, right? That's I'll save for that. But like that's really my concern is that this how good this is, and then what they're going to throw, what they're going to give us with that. That worries me more than like see what I'm saying. That's more what I'm highly concerned about. It's like that drop off, like that inconsistency. I don't like that, and nobody in the fandom likes that. You don't like, what I'm saying? We don't want anything. Nobody wants it to be perfect. But it's like, you want some consistency again, I guess, basically, right? Yeah. They're very simple things what people want from these movies. And the Marvel Studios gave us those things. And I'm very entertained by like the Phase 3 films and whatnot. I love all of them.
The thing is, they gave it until this previous phase, which was so incomplete, which was so scattershot, which was supposed to be a great launching point for this next part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and turned out to be very mixed results at best, based off not just mine or yours, but also the basic fan out there or just general movie audience. It's not just the MCU fan that goes and watches Disney Plus for every MCU show or goes and watches all the movies each and every time out. We're talking about the general audience at large stopped caring in large parts in the previous phase because of what was done and shown off, and people weren't following it to the extent they once were after Endgame. Endgame was a blessing and a curse in disguise, you could probably say, because the fact is, yes, it capped off one of the greatest movie events in cinema history, but it also, coming off to that, it just means that everything else behind it needs so much more talent, so much more, completion, to where it really has to be good in order for it to sustain that kind of momentum, and it just never did. So that's why I'm saying, Doctor Strange last year, it started to see a little bit of a slide.
Yeah.
After the success of Spider-Man, and that's still, people still had hope for the MCU. But then we realized.
Jared, I told you, Jared, remember I told you, I think a long time ago, that I just did a show one time, and two of my guests I know for a long time came on and whatnot, collaborators, and they came on and they both seen Doctor Strange too. And right off the bat in the studio before the show, all they wanted to talk about was like how seeing that film really, really, really made them like lose confidence.
Well, it started, with Spider-Man. Spider-Man No Way Home actually did so well. People were still high up. I just think at that point in time, it's the Spider-Man. People, instead of wanting to go ahead and continue the MCU, it was more about the love for Spider-Man as opposed to what was going on in the MCU, because we've seen ever since then, even before then, just people are just not connecting with a lot of these new MCU characters. So bring back some of the old crew from Guardians of the Galaxy that have been here for 9 years. They're coming back for their last time around as a complete unit. And it's just so hard, because you see that a lot of people are enjoying it, a lot of people liking it, but you just don't have that same kind of drawing power that it once did. It did good, but it certainly can't say it did great for a Marvel movie in May.
Well, you know what? I think that if I had to guess, I think the movie will end up doing okay economically. It may not make up. It might not get to the level that maybe we would be the perfect level, but I think the word of mouth is really that important, Gerald. Then I know for a fact I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of the creators about it. They've reached out to me personally on their own just to let me know. Right, like, hey, just so you know, I thought Guardians was fucking great, like apart my friends, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, or I cried, or whatever, whatnot, like whatever, kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Quick, stuff or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
the response I'm getting on the ground level from like the fan of people that are on my shows is that they enjoyed the film, right? Like they liked it. They thought it was. I thought it was. Again, I thought it was the best MCU film since Endgame, probably. I do.
Okay.
I think it was that good as far as like overall film. Like you know what I'm saying? Like with Black Widow, it was a pretty solid film, but I was just that was more of a bias thing for me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
WandaVision was really freaking good. I really like that. I think that's like really a great show. I really like it. I think that honestly, you probably agree, Gerald. There's a demand right now. I noticed for like people want more of that street level, Daredevil, Falcon the Winter Soldier, Earth based. They want, I think, more of that. Like from the MCU right now, I'm feeling like, and I'm feeling like Marvel Studios knows that, Disney knows that, and that's
Mhm.
what that's why we're going to see D'Onofrio, dropped the ball already, right? And said that basically put it out there that Berthold is going to be in the Daredevil series as Punisher. So we know we're going to get from the Punisher in the MCU. I think Daredevil is really the threshold, Gerald.
Mhm.
If Daredevil doesn't work over 18 episodes and help revive the MCU off of it, right? Like I think it can potentially
Mhm.
with the relationship between Spider-Man and Daredevil, and the fact that Spider-Man trilogy will be more like him, like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in New York City, fighting crime with his own villains and shit and whatnot. In New York, you get what I'm saying, contained.
Yes.
Right? Like I think that they're really relying on that a lot, and that D'Onofrio is going to end up being like almost like maybe a villain, not a big
Well,
villain.
Bernthal's going to be a part of this too. So.
Yes, yes, yes. But no, their impact could be huge. That's all I'm
Mhm.
saying. And I see if they can't make that work, then I'm really worried.
Well, I am worried now because again, this was supposed to be your marquee movie. May movies for Marvel are supposed to be the highest grossing of the year
Yeah,
for the most part. They're supposed to be one of the biggest movies of the year, and it is the second largest opening of the year, which under normal circumstances is great. But this movie was tracking at one time close to 150 million dollars for domestically for an opening, and it opens up around 115. Usually, it tracks a month, 3 weeks ahead of time, and then it grows and it spans beyond that, and it just didn't do that. So that's why I have a concern. I think again, it's not that I think people are tired of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's more reflective of people starting to fade a little bit on the MCU.
that's natural though. I think you know what I'm saying. Like I mean, but what is natural though? Again, Gerald, no one's ever done what the MCU was done, what the Marvel Studios did. There's never been anything like the MCU before. It's never happened.
Yeah.
There is no like there's nothing to compare it to, right?
Mhm.
So at that
Mhm.
point, like how do we really know like what are the marks where it gets to the stage where like it's over. They can't revive it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. It's very interesting. It is to think about.
Mhm.
And we'll see, right? But like I want to be optimistic. I do, and I think other people should be too, right?
Well,
Like
why do you say that? Why do you think people should be optimistic? Yes, I know that you
because
said you're enjoying GOTG3,
because they
but
gave us they gave us something they gave us something in the three phases that
Mhm.
was something that was so impactful to so many people's lives, right? I think that Kevin Feige dropped the ball in phase four. He knows he did, right?
Mhm.
And I think that he's legit, like he's a real man. You know what I'm saying? And he cares about what he does, right? And I think he does care about the ethos and like and everything and whatnot. Stan Lee and you know what I'm talking about. That he does care about the comic book accuracy and all that stuff and whatnot. He doesn't want to sell out or whatever whatnot. He wants to make good movies that are based off these characters and these storylines. I think he just lost. He dropped the ball. I think he got stagnant. They were coasting. Endgame destroyed everything, blew the world up, and he just was like, you know what, I'm going to delegate, and he put people in positions that did not make good decisions.
Well, again, it's about the stories that he ultimately says okay to tell,
You're
and
right. You're right.
about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
about the characters he greenlit for those
You are.
standalone
Yep.
movies. in
Good
Phase
point.
4.
Yep.
So
You're right.
I'm going to
You're
have
right.
to disagree with you because he's the guy at
You're
the
right.
head.
You did. She-Hulk and everything. He greenlit all of it.
I will talk about Phil Spencer for Xbox. Xbox just recently released Redfall to disastrous reviews, and it is one of the worst AAA releases in recent memory. And the thing is, we talk about Phil Spencer, how much great love and affection he has for the gaming universe and the gamers and all that. And as I'll probably will have a deepened discussion with my fellow gaming experts here, because they've both asked to come on and here in upcoming shows to talk about it. When it comes down to it, the person at the top allowed this to happen, allowed it to be
Yep.
debuted, and allowed it to go ahead and go forward. And they ultimately should get the most responsibility on this. And when it comes to Kevin Feige, Kevin Feige was the one that goes to San Diego at Comic-Con and announced all these different timelines for Phase 4 that we saw, all these different movies that we saw during this Phase 4. He's the one that was upfront about it. He's the one that sees it. He's the one that ultimately gives the okay on the directors, the main stars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They've got great casting agents for the past 10 years working on this as far as getting the right stars for the right roles. But ultimately, it's actually Kevin Feige that says yes. Same thing with the directors. Same thing ultimately with the scripts and the story. He's the ultimate one that sits down and says,
He's the
yes,
shot caller. He's the overall shot
yes. So
caller. Yep.
ultimately, as much as I love Kevin Feige, he's got to go ahead and get some heat for this as well, because this is something the poor return, not the poor, I should say, the less than enthusiastic returns this weekend monetarily are because, again, as I'm seeing I could just go to you can just go to Yahoo right now and see like 3 or 4 articles on how they're saying that's the lowest first of summer Marvel movie ever, is a quoting by IndieWire, and then you'll see someone's lowest of this for the first May Marvel movie ever, and what I'm trying to get through here is that when with Disney, it is a lot about dollars and cents. A lot of their decisions are financially based. They're cutting back on Marvel television shows and other properties on being put out there simply because the fact that they're not generating enough money or revenue off of Disney Plus to do so. So
They lost, would
it
they lose?
always comes
They
down to
lost.
money, my friend. It
Did they lose
always
one?
comes down to money.
Jared, did they not lose? If I'm right, $1.2 billion of Disney Plus in the third quarter last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
So they
lot.
are,
That's a lot of money, man, to lose off a streaming service. Holy
and
shit!
yes, and you've seen a lot of the issues that become out of it with Warner Brothers. You've seen a lot with their
Their
DC and the way
stock
they've had,
dropped. Their stock
yeah,
depreciated like half
and,
by half in like a year and a half or something like that.
and Disney, same thing.
Holy
These streaming services are really just trying to they're trying to figure out how to profit them, and most have guaranteed profitability within the next couple of years, except for Paramount. We don't know what the status of Paramount, because they just lost $500 million on Paramount Plus, and so they're trying to figure out how to go, or Paramount as a
ah,
whole, and
that's too bad.
they're trying to figure out
I
how to
like Paramount
restructure
Plus.
Paramount.
I do like
Paramount
Paramount
Plus is
Plus.
great, but we don't know the
Yep.
status of how well it's going to do, because again, they're losing money hand over fist on it. Same thing with Warner Brothers. They've actually restructured,
Yeah.
so now you're going to see them come out as Max. Disney Plus. Bob Iger's already said he's going to cut a lot of the fat from Disney Plus,
Yeah.
which
Of
means
course.
less
Yep.
content for you. So the decisions
And
have been made partly because people are not accepting of what has been seen in
and
recent times by the Marvel Cinematic
and
Universe,
Gerald,
because
I
that's
asked
such a
you.
key part of what Disney needs to do going forward.
That's why I wanted you to come on. If you could, earlier this evening, whatnot, even if you could just pitch in for a minute, whatnot. I was basically talking about essentially, is it a good thing that, like, because of the Writers Guild, the Writers Strike deal, whatnot, everything, they've already put it out there that they are going to, like, there's going to be effects on, production in terms of release dates and whatnot on future projects, right? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a probably good thing, right? If anything.
Well, delaying production for, like, for instance, for Blade, I don't think that's a good thing.
Not for Blade. We talked about that too. With Blade,
That's
it
been
sucks.
delayed.
With Blade, it sucks. I'm just saying in general. I feel like it sort of supports that same thing that was supposedly Iger and like Feige essentially leaked to the media, was that like that's where they're going. It's like they're really going to cut back, they're going to scale it back. Like what we might only get essentially, like Secret Invasion. At one point they said, For the year for Disney for the year as far
Well,
as like series go.
and right now with the way the MCU is shaking out, again, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is being less attended, not because people are tired of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's less attended because they're getting a little bit tired of the MCU in and of itself.
Very
The
much.
general fan at large has grown weary of superhero movies, and you're reflecting it with their dollar, and that's what you're seeing right now. And unless it's going to take a it's going to take a what an Infinity War or Endgame quality level superhero performance for them to go running back to the theaters once again. We may see it with the Flash because that has got good advanced word, even though there's a lot of issues with Ezra Miller. We'll see. Guardians of the Galaxy got okay reviews up front, but it's getting good word of mouth. And again, for me, the key is no longer with a Marvel movie what the first weekend does. The key for me is what the Marvel movie is going to do the next 2 weeks after.
Yeah, and I think that and you know what, Gerald? Look, we should check back in at that point, whatnot, and everything, and see what the numbers are there, and then maybe I can gauge with you better. Like give you a better opinion as far as like the importance of like this real where this is at. This a spot where damn if Guardians I mean I get where you're going. It is the Guardians at the end of the day, right? Like I mean if you one film and look at the timing, right? Like you said, May, right? You
Mm-hmm.
expect this to be the one film where it would bust out, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like
And it didn't.
now they were projecting that this would there were people that didn't project it would make $1 billion.
Well,
That
that's what they hoped this one was going to do, but it's based off the initial
no,
numbers, it's not going to do that.
no, it's not economically feasible at all. No, no, based off that, I don't think it's even possible.
It's going to be really difficult. And Alyssa had legs, and unfortunately, with Fast X and The Little Mermaid coming out later this month, and with all the other movies that are coming out this month as well, and in June and in July, this doesn't have the advantage of what the Super Mario Brothers movie did when it came out. To a lot of good movies that are out there, but they weren't to the point where they were going to challenge long term what Super Mario Brothers are going to do, and that's why you see Super Mario Brothers at over $1 billion, and why you probably won't see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 anywhere near that.
But there is good stuff going on. I mean, you and I have never really talked about The Last of Us, but we covered The Last of Us. I thought it was great. I did.
That's absolutely
Oh no,
brilliant. Some of the
we
best.
did talk about it. I'm sorry, my
Yeah, we
bad.
did. And so yeah, we did actually did one of the
That was a
most
great
popular
show.
thing. Yeah, and it's one of the more popular shows of this year because of the fact that a lot
Oh,
of people want to talk about The Last of Us and how brilliant that was. But when it comes to the MCU, my friend, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, you've said great things about your time watching it. You said you're
yeah,
actually
it
going to
did.
go ahead and see it again.
I am.
What are some of the main points on why you liked Guardians of the Galaxy
Well, first
Volume
of
3
all,
so much?
the reason I'm going to see it twice is because I love the MCU. I'm a Marvel comic books collector. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, like I mean, now honestly, Gerald, now that I've kind of bounced back from that kind of rough spot I had there for a minute, where I was kind of not so energetic and on top of my shit with the bleeding edge and whatnot there for a minute. And I've kind of had some good months behind me. Like I've gotten to a point where I'm networking in different ways and whatnot, right? And I've started to like kind of go organic more, and I've joined some meetup groups. I organize some anyway on the side just to like meet people, and I like I'm boring, man. I like doing things like organizing meetup groups and stuff like that. It's fun. That's part of the why I like to do the bleeding edges, bring people together, right? Around something that's good, that you can share together. It's kind
Mhm.
of not political and not divisive, right? So
Mhm.
no, but bottom line, in general, I mean, I love the MCU, and I love the Guardians movies and whatnot. And when we were,
What makes this one so special? Why again, you've told people
I have a
30 to
bot.
40 people
Okay, here it is.
what is the reasoning behind
It's
actually having
it's
people go see this movie?
it's because it delivered what Quantumania didn't.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like Gunn took it to a place where it was almost like graphic. You know what I'm saying? Like there was
Mhm.
a lot of very adult themes in it. There really were. And I'm not talking
Mhm.
about the animal stuff and whatnot. I'm talking about adult themes. Like they really he added a maturity level to this third film that I really
Mhm.
enjoyed personally. Now I did. I enjoyed personally. I
Mhm.
like how they did Adam Warlock, and no, I did not. the Poulter, uh, a young man, did a great job. I thought.
Will Poulter, yes.
Yeah, he did a great job. He did his job. He delivered his performance. I think
Mhm.
the way they wrote him and like the way how they had him direct, they told him to act. I didn't like. I didn't thought that it was completely accurate at all in terms of like who more like it really is and what he's like. But
Mhm.
then again, they did explain that he was like, they took him out of the cocoon too soon or whatever. Either way, I felt like the overall movie was very coherent. It was very good overall, fluidly all the way through. Like it was entertaining. It was like your usual Marvel kind of movie where like you come in and you feel positive the whole time. You enjoy it. There's nothing going on that ever happens where you're like, fuck, this is disappointing. It's terrible. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, like if you fall off, you're gonna fall asleep or whatever. You're
Mhm.
entertained. You know what I'm saying? Like you're entertained, right? Like, there's something about it that's entertaining. It's that
Mm.
simple. Like it brings back and revives almost, that vibe of coming in to see a Marvel movie and being literally, legitimately entertained by what you're seeing, right? By like the villain wasn't that great. I don't like the way that they did the High Evolutionary. Really, I have my faults with it. I'll tell you right now. When we do our review, I got to see it 2 times because I want to savor it. I love these films, and at the same time, I want to be very fair and very accurate in my review, and not like allow my biases to creep in or like that and whatnot. So another look, right, will be good for that, right, to help me kind of just make sure that I don't come in there and kind of soft touch it. You know what I'm saying? And when I've done it before, I won't lie, Gerald. I have.
Mhm.
I've kind of soft touched a film here and there, and whatnot, like Love and Thunder, where I look back at it now and I'm like, that movie was hot garbage, right? And I tried to be nice to it when it came out because I was worried about the fandom, and like I didn't want to give off the impression to my audience that like, you know, this is horrible. You get what I'm saying? You understand? I'm not trying to get all meta, but I'm just
Well,
saying.
I'm sorry. I just say it how I feel. If I didn't like the movie, I didn't like the movie. I don't, people that have listened to watch this show over the years know that Josh or myself or Melinda, if we don't like something, we don't like it. It's that simple. If we like it, we're going to tell you why. If we love it, we're going to tell you why. Fandom or whatnot, we just want to make sure people know and get it straight. Yeah, the way we cut it straight. We don't just try to mess around on that. If we can't be worried, I tell you, on our end, as far as what, if we're supposed to give a right answer for it. If we didn't like something, then we need to tell the audience exactly why we didn't like it and let
No,
them judge from there if they do or don't. That's
and
up
I
to you.
and I get where you're coming from. And honestly, Gerald, believe it or not, I am very blunt and like very directive with that with people and like very black and white. But
Mhm.
I do really care about the MCU. I do. And like I want these.
I do too, but I do too. Believe me, I've invested years of my life into this, and obviously, it's a great source of information, a great source of content for us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Back since I started this in
Sure.
2016, but if I see signs that
Yes.
the MCU is not going in a good place, I'm going to call it out and I'm going to let people know. Do I want people to be fired or let go for it? No, but I think that when the commitment that Disney and Marvel have made to this long term is not going in the direction you needed to go, you need to just say stop. We need to maybe reset and go in a different direction that maybe is more appealing to the fans.
I agree, and I think you're right. That I think that the
I don't know if
quality
we're there yet, though. See, I don't know if we're there yet, but
and
it's
that's the
not
thing.
leading into that right
And we talked
direction.
about this earlier. The inconsistency does not help. Even if you do give us something good, right? Like if Guardians ends up doing okay, whatnot, financially, whatnot, right? And people and more people agree with me that it's a really good film like that and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
Uh, what if the Marvels comes out and it's garbage? You know what I'm saying? Like literally,
Right.
like like honestly, when I saw that teaser, all I thought to myself was like, you know what? Amon Villani is going to end up being the best part of the film,
Mhm.
right? Literally, like that's all I thought at the end of that. I was like, you know what? She's going to end up actually like stealing the show. She's going to carry the film because, like, honestly, I didn't see anything else in it that I found entertaining but her and like Monica Rambeau scenes, right? So I'm worried about that. Like, a lot of people are worried about it.
Well,
That
I can
te-
tell you. Go
Gerald,
ahead, my
that
friend.
you saw that teaser, man.
Yeah.
Did that teaser instill confidence in you?
Well, I think again for me it was something that they had to be vague because it details the end of some of our beloved characters. And I know a lot of people haven't yet seen yet, so I don't want to spoil it for them exactly who lives and who dies. But I will say right now, it is something that I think that people should take the time to see.
Yeah.
It is definitely something that was not worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which I said was barely a passable movie. I thought it
Uh,
is not the worst of the MCU movies for me, but it is on the lower rank. It's probably somewhere. If I gave it a score out of 10, I think I said I gave it a 5.5 or a 6.
I'm really
Uh,
disappointed with that shit. I really am.
yeah,
I'm sorry, Gerald. I really am. I'm really mad that I really feel like they disrespect. Oh, in the way they didn't do. They didn't do. I
it
don't
was
know what
just, it was not. It's not a very good movie at all.
they did. They didn't do justice either to like
Yeah,
the Wasp and whatnot and everything, right?
yeah,
And the and actual Ant Man and whatnot. Like they should have
yeah.
been the focal points of the film. They should
Well,
have been the ones. They should have been the ones to like to be in the big scenes and whatnot and everything and be like the center of the film, whatnot.
well, that movie has a whole bunch of issues. That would take another hour to talk about. But
I
my
know
friend,
that.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it's out in theaters now. I think people should go ahead, take a look at it, give it a chance, give it a thought, decide whether or not it'll allow you to continue the MCU, especially because after the after credit scenes, you also want to check out because it does have a future laid out in and of itself, which I won't go into either. But my friend, it's just been great to have you here. Before we head on out, you got to go ahead and do the hard sales pitch. Now, go ahead, pitch it out, my friend, on why people need to check out the MCU's Bleeding Edge.
Well, really, because at the end of the day, like look, we've been evolving, and we're going to continue to evolve. And at the end of the day, we have fun, and if you watch our show, you'll have fun. It's that simple. Like, I mean, we entertain people, we cover fandom stuff and whatnot, and now we're covering we're reviewing regular films. Like, I mean, we do all. I mean, we're getting to a point where we're just evolving all the time. I'm
Mhm.
adding another show. We're gonna be doing four full discussional live stream shows a week, a night. Eventually, be five. Right? It's one of those things, and like it's a situation where basically um you gotta we're live. So everything's very authentic, and if you like to connect on a human level and like actually laugh and like enjoy something that's entertaining, informative, but like also like somewhat R rated I won't lie. I mean, that is what we do, and we make content, and we're trying to entertain adults. That's our point. Like what I'm saying, like we do have serious discussions, right? But we're the bleeding edge. We're humorous. We crack jokes, but we do also like get deep.
Yeah.
And Gerald, and there's a lot, as well as I do. There's a lot of stuff out there in the MCU that's worth talking about deeply. But no, Gerald, you know what? Honestly, man, at the end of the day, I hope people do go see Guardians. You're right. They should check it out. At least take a look at it. It's worth the $10 or whatever.
And then decide whether or not you want to make another future commitment to the MCU. I think that's
That's
probably the best way to
that's
say it.
fair. That's very fair. And you know what? You're very fair. So thank you
I
very
try.
much. God bless you, Gerald. I appreciate coming out with you, brother. Nice to hang out with you again, buddy.
Oh, always, my friend. It is the man of true knowledge. It is Jeff Sloboda. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Well, Jeff, great to have you here, my friend, talking Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Can't wait till you stop on by again, talking Marvel or whatever it is that we always talk about regarding pop culture right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.